bring his arm out to rest here on my thigh right there in the hip, just so that he can keep it relaxed. It also shortens it, right? If I lift it up a little bit, if it's down, then it's all gonna be strained. We're not gonna be able to get those muscles to release from an elongated position. So we get it up there so that it relaxes. I also have got another tell in the whole area that I'm working on if he starts to seize. If the pressure of that arm leaves that hip, then I know he's guarding in there and I need to sort of revisit and make sure that it stays neutral. So I'm gonna come here at the bicep tendon. I'm gonna come up, and I think on your notes I actually start with the pec. But with the rotation in this arm, I'm gonna start with the bicep tendon today. So I just find that connection right down at the elbow. Ooh, there it is. All right, and what I'm gonna do there is I'm gonna just bring that, soften the elbow there. There we go, I'm gonna bring it up and down. There. Does it feel like my pressure let go? So you guys could see that didn't change, but that the arm softened. So we've got that medial pull released. Okay, so now we're gonna come over to the pec. So a nice flat muscle there. We're gonna come with the flat of your fingers. Obviously with our ladies, we're gonna have a little bit higher hand placement, but we still wanna have those fingers to be nice and flat, sort of at that 45-degree angle. And we come along and down. Then I'm gonna hold sort of with the 3 digits along that whole pec attachment, and I'm gonna come out to where that round attachment is here. Ooh, good, relax. And there it goes. We get it to drop. Okay, so that superficially, we got that pec to release, but we can feel the tension right up in here. The pec minor, it's a nasty little bugger. So we're gonna bring the arm in and down. I'm gonna come right up under that released pec major, 2 fingers, and I'm gonna come up, and I'm gonna get right on that pec minor. So I'm swimming underneath that muscle, trying to get on top of the pec minor, and press down, and it feels awful. Down, release, let go, let go. I mean, relax. Good.
Oh my.
You're doing very good.
You handle pec minor and sub-scat. Those are 2 of the worst.
They're hard because they're underneath a lot of stuff. They're tight and everything around it is tight. So getting in it and sort of thinking about, again, looking at your app and thinking about how the fibers cross and where is there an in. Real similar to the way we dive for the psoas. We sort of swim around stuff. You got to kind of shift your fingers just a little bit until you get into the pocket and you can find it. All right, so we're gonna hold on that pec major and minor together, and we're just gonna do a little bit of movement in the shoulder. Good. So we're doing some tractioning. We're coming up sort of underneath the collarbone. Okay. And we're gonna do a pinwheel. This is super fun. So I have clever names for everything. All right, so I bring the arm up as close to a 90-degree as it will go, all right here. It's a little tight. I could force it to be up there, but then all of the muscle guarding would be back on. So I want it to be up as high as it can, but I want the muscles to be soft first. Then I'm gonna bring the sort of thumb and the web of my hand here right across the pec major minor attachments where they released. And I come right up. So I'm kind of grabbing on the anterior border of the delt. I'm grabbing right on the edge of the pec major. And I have an open hand. So I bring my fingers over the top. So it's almost like a big C curve with my hand. And he's got to stay relaxed. So if you try and help me, we just have to do it again.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes threats work. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring my outside hand, right? I sort of sit back into that lunge again, and I bring this at my elbow here, in line with his, tuck it into the body. As it does, it shortens the tissue into my hand so I can get a better grip on that C curve. I hold it. This hand, my right hand, does not change with anything more than getting a little bit firm in my grip. He's gonna breathe in, and as he exhales, I'm gonna take his arm straight up to the sky. It's gonna give a little pinch. Good, 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 good. We're gonna hold, see there that right hand didn't change. I've got this, I'm holding it with my shoulder and my hand so he feels confident that he doesn't have to hold that arm up there for me. Inhale again. As he exhales again, I leave my right hand alone and I take that left arm up. Up, 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 up. Pinches, then we bend the elbow and we bring it in and extend. Relax. There. Oh. I'm gonna come down to that wrist. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of a compression release one more time across the ribs. How's that look? Okay, now compensation, we're not releasing the shoulder, but it's a little bit forward. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a stretch. Gentle hold on the wrist, palm of the hand right across that shoulder joint there, gentle downward pressure as I pull the arm up, and just give it a little bit of a stretch. It's more of a mobilizing of that side so that we don't perpetuate a different compensative pattern. Give it a little stretch on the arm there, and then those arms are both laying a little bit differently on the table. How do you feel?
I feel a lot better.
So
I feel like I actually more down on the table.
good. So the last thing that I don't really like is that head forward position. We can still see the evidence of that head forward in that he's laying on the table a little bit like this instead of like this. So we got the shoulders to drop so that he's laying on the table more firmly there through the thoracic region, but the head is still sort of doing one of these jobby guys where his neck is trying to choke him, right? So I'm gonna sit down for this one. And what I'm gonna do is come right up underneath, just relax there, underneath the head. I'm gonna sort of cradle back there along the parietals with my fingers down at the occipital ridge. So this is a little bit of a craniosacral still point hold mixed with an occipital base release. When you see that in my notes, it's an occipital base release, and sometimes I'll do / still point. So when you do an occipital base release, when you just hold the occiput, you're pretty firm with those fingers, right? With those fingertips trying to come up underneath that ridge to open up the back of the skull. When we do a still point, there's hardly any pressure at all, but your placement is pretty close to the same. So, and I'll come with you guys and show, I'll get your hands in the right place of what it is that I'm doing because it's kind of hard to see. But you're sort of in between those 2 points. I've got long flat fingers as if I'm releasing a flat attachment, flat muscle attachment. And it's upwards, sort of towards the middle of the skull, and then long ways towards the end of the skull, right, out here to the tippy top of the head. And then as that starts to soften, I let my hands sort of shift, trying to get his head to fall into the palm of my hands. And then just as it moves, I sort of shift my hands in order to kind of dance with that tissue release to get it to calm down. So if we think about what we're affecting here, we've got the traps that attach on the base of the skull. We've got all of our erectors that attach at the base of the skull along the spine. We've got over here at the on the side of the top vertebrae, we've got our levator scapula muscle. And then we've got all the muscles of the head that wrap the skull, wrap around the jaw, and sort of innervate and come back around to the back. So there's just such a huge junction point here. All right, so just take a deep breath in, blow it out. And I just hold that until it lets go. Yeah, there it goes. There it goes. All right, so Chris, what you should feel is like your head is getting heavy.
Yep.
And can you guys see that his neck is elongating by sort of bringing his chin down? It's subtle, but it's happening. From here, I can see his little whiskers coming down towards his chest. And you can see also there's a little bit of a softness in the facial muscles as his body relaxes.
you pulling your
Just
hands
right
towards
versus the slit,
you?
right? It's just that much right there. So that pull right there. Now I'm holding, and there, it feels like I'm pulling though, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm not pulling. That's your body responding and releasing.
Wow. You
That's
can
so-
feel that, like she's pulling her fingers towards herself.
So then we're gonna come up in here and I just give a little bit of a check, passive range of motion check. So my hands come along the side of the neck there and I'm feeling for all those things that we didn't directly affect. The scalenes, the SCM, the platysma, all of those things are through the front. Then I just do a nice little hold here on either side of the occiput, let my thumbs be soft, and pull. And there he's done. Questions?
So now his head's laying flat.
So now his head's laying flatter. So we know that next time, speaking of our treatment plans again before he gets up, I would expect needing to do a bilateral treatment. We got so much to release on the problematic side. We left the compensation to soften and release on its own. So next time, my plan would be to do the C1 to T12, release with the tool, do all of the work that we did on the right side, on the left side as well, and then possibly spend a little bit more time around the base of the skull. You can sort of bringing the hands long and then letting the head drop to the right and letting it drop to the left. Think about what we do when we're trying to do a cranial balancing. Sort of releasing along and letting the head tip and turn so that you get more direct pressure on sort of one portion of the trapezius attachment than the other, feeling down into the neck and going to the other side. I would also expect a pretty decent hold from what we did today, building on the pillars of the previous work that he's already had. Some of these are going to come back. I would expect some of that compression around those rib heads to return again, just because that's a long-standing issue that he keeps coming back to. Even when it gets put right, it comes out again. So I would expect to need to do that piece again, possibly even to address some of the ribs on the left next time. So that would be my expectation. I would have him come back in a week. We did so much release. The body does not have the strength or stamina to hold this really successfully for more than a week.
About taping.
We're gonna tape. We're gonna tape you too. We're just gonna do the whole thing. Okay,